Welcome back, folks, for another Prepper Pig book review. Today we're looking at To the White Sea by James Dickey, and I am so excited to review this book because it is one of my all-time favorites! Ooh-wee! I love this book here. Before we get started, be sure to go below, click the like and subscribe buttons. It really helps the page and it'll make sure you don't miss any of the content I'm putting out. Go do it now, go do it. So, To the White Sea was written by James Dickey, a famous poet. You probably know him from his movie Deliverance.
You gotta get down there, boy!
To the White Sea is a very different book from Deliverance.
Oh, thank God.
But it does address the same principal issue, which is survival.
Survive!
That said, where Deliverance was the survival of a small community of these guys rafting this river,
We're all in this together.
To the White Sea is all about one character, Muldrow. To the White Sea is told entirely in first person, so we get to see the world through Muldrow's eyes, and he is definitely out there.
No hesitation, no surrender.
That said, we do see that Muldrow grew up in the Alaskan bush.
Welcome to Alaska. Here's $1,000.
Basically with his father, learning how to trap and hunt and survive on pretty much nothing.
The wilderness must be explored!
The book takes place during World War II, days before the American bombing of Tokyo, Japan. Muldrow's plane is shot down over Japan and he is the sole survivor. The US military doesn't know he's alive, and the Japanese don't know he exists. So his plan is to trek his way through Japan north to the island of Hokkaido.
Yeah, that's too far.
Which is mostly cold and wintry, where it resembles a lot the Alaskan frontier that he's used to. According to Muldrow, the sea isn't the sea without ice floating in it, and that's where he's trying to get to. Not his home, but a place where he can make a home and be left alone.
Leave me alone!
During the course of this book, we get an in-depth look into Muldrow's mind, how he perceives the world, how he perceives the Japanese, and he's pretty racist.
It's in your blood. That's racist. Your soul. That's racist. Your eyes. That's gay. That's homophobic. That's black. That's racist. Damn.
And biased in his perceptions. He isn't a hero. This isn't a book about some great man going off and doing great things. This is a book about a lone wolf who slowly loses his mind and creates enemies all along the way as he tries to travel through this foreign land. Does Muldrow have skills? Absolutely.
I got skills. I got skills.
And are there things that we can learn from him? You bet. But how he approaches the world in this, I'm on my own, army of one kind of mentality.
Let's go hunt.
The book does a good job of showing that that's unsustainable, even in the short term. Ultimately, it's a book about survivalism. And one of the things that I guess is kind of a pet peeve of mine when I talk about survivalism or when I talk to survivalists is this idea that you can go it alone, that you can be self-reliant, self-contained out in the world.
I'm a lone wolf.
Life doesn't work that way. You have to have community. Even if you're all alone and you're doing pretty well for yourself. What if your appendix bursts? What if you get an impacted tooth? What if you get poisoned?
Are you trying to poison me? That's not alcohol.
Nearly every time we see these movies or these stories of these lone wolves out there doing their own thing, they almost always come to the same end, which is dying alone of some shit that was really preventable if you had had a community around. So is the character of Muldrow a good guy? No.
You're right, I am the bad guy.
Is he someone we should pattern ourselves after? Probably not. Are there things that we can learn from him? Definitely. But most of those lessons are going to be negative ones. What not to do in a situation.
I know it! I know it! I know it!
Overall though, as far as the rating, on writing, this book gets a 10 out of 10.
Perfection.
It is one of the most beautifully written books I've ever laid my eyes on. And that might be because James Dickey is an award-winning poet.
Okay.
I'm a poet.
Oh.
Not necessarily a novelist. He was the poet in residence at the University of South Carolina. He also read his poem, The Strength of Fields, at Jimmy Carter's presidential inauguration. So we have a guy who knows how to use poetry, how to use words in a very poetic sense. And a lot of this book reads kind of like poetry. In some places, it almost has a stream of consciousness feel. Because of that stream of consciousness feel, I give the story itself an 8 out of 10. Some places can be a little hard to follow.
You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Some of the imagery and symbolism can be a little hard to get.
Maybe he's an artist.
Wow.
This book wasn't written 60 years ago, though. It was published first in 1993. I know that might seem like ancient days for some of you, but that's really not that long ago.
I'm not old!
As far as veneer theory, this book has almost none. Yes, the Japanese are depicted in some instances as kind of hysterical in how they react to the bombing of their city, for instance. But I think that's understandable, and a lot of that is colored because we all remember in the mind of Muldrow, who is interpreting what he's seeing for us, the reader. Alright folks, well that's going to do it for this Prepper Pig book review.
I need more. I want more.
I hope that if you don't have To the White Sea that you go ahead and pick it up toot sweet, because it is gorgeous, absolutely beautifully written, and definitely needs to be on your shelf. As always, take care of one another, love up on your people, stay safe out there, and stay tuned for more from me, your friendly neighborhood Prepper Pig.
Let's go hunting.